perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out.
Okay,
Sean.
President Donald Trump questions the validity of former President Joe Biden's many decisions as an Autopen may have been our president for the last 4 years. The J6 committee is now taunting the president to challenge their preemptive pardons, and mainstream media is led into a frenzy with a simple social media post. Now, we got a lot on our plate for today, so let's go ahead and get the show running with this Autopen scandal, shall we?
President Trump doubling down over the weekend on his claim that his predecessor, Joe Biden, used an Autopen to add his signature to crucial documents. Mills Hayes is here with us this morning. So, Mills, describe this to us. What exactly is an Autopen? And is there any evidence that President Biden was heavily relying on one, like President Trump claims?
Well, good morning, Marky. Happy to be back here. An Autopen is a device that replicates someone's signature. It's something that celebrities often use to sign autographs for fans, and it provides an identical signature every single time, like almost a stamp. It's common knowledge that presidents use the device too. Harry Truman, believed to be the first U.S. president to do so almost 100 years ago. But the White House doesn't exactly broadcast that they're doing it for obvious reasons. The issue here, according to President Trump, is how much his predecessor was allegedly relying on it. And overnight, the president upping the ante, posting that the pardons signed by President Biden are, quote, hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect, because of the fact that they were done by Autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them. He continues those on the unselect committee, referring to the House committee that investigated January 6th, should, quote, fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level. The fact is that they were probably responsible for the documents that were signed on their behalf without their knowledge or consent. This claim originated from the Heritage Foundation's oversight project. They highlighted signatures from pardons that the president signed, including those for Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, and the January 6th committee. They allege that the signatures are identical, suggesting the use of an Autopen. They contrasted those signatures with the one announcing Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race, which they say is noticeably different. The president suggested on Truth Social, quote, the person who was the real president during the Biden years was the person who controlled the Autopen.
Now, just to be clear, the argument doesn't revolve around the use of the Autopen. Now, as you heard, U.S. presidents have used it for several decades now. That's not the problem. What President Trump is saying is that the former president wasn't aware that his signature was being used for these pardons. Now, for context, I want you to realize that Joe Biden set a presidential record for pardons and clemency, with the number combined at more than 4,000. This includes family members of his, like his siblings and his own son, Hunter Biden. He also provided preemptive pardons for Dr. Anthony Fauci and multiple members of the J6 committee. The clear argument is whether or not that he knew of these thousands of decisions being made under his term. But of course, this is part of the entire strategy for President Trump, because it's almost assured that mainstream media and Democrats will obsess over these allegations. And I'm sure that they have people checking on the president's social media accounts 24/7. But instead of brushing it off, some of these individuals are answering back. Now, if we're talking about legalities, no, he cannot do this. Although he can say whatever he wants to say under the First Amendment. Because besides getting Democrats all worked up, he's opening an important topic. Was the presidency of former President Joe Biden controlled by other people? Because we've heard about him having handlers. He couldn't even get off a stage properly without Barack Obama or his wife Jill Biden's help. So the question itself is the most important aspect of this entire conversation. Did we have an Autopen as a president for the last 4 years? Now, I suggest that if you have the time, you should check out my previous live stream, guys. I talked about the delusion within the Democratic Party who believe that they're winning against the Trump administration, as well as the physical attack on the president as he was talking to the press recently. Make sure you guys check that out. As always, appreciate your time. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time. Watch.
So I just saw that Trump is threatening the January 6th committee again. Listen, this dude knows, he knows that this is the thing that embarrasses him. He won't admit it embarrasses him because he's trying to pretend like he didn't do anything. He's obsessed. He's more obsessed with me and Liz Cheney than his freaking golf score. Hey, Trump, bring it on, dude. You weak, whiny, tiny man who, by the way, I saw a picture of you this weekend. You're hiking up your pants now to really just below your man boobs and you're sweating so much. looking pretty bad there. But bring it, man. Like, stop with all the big mouth talking stuff. You're a grown man. You don't talk like one, but you're a grown man. Come on, dude. Bring it.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Obsessed is a funny word to use. The mere fact that he answered back shows that the president's taken up some pretty prime real estate in his mind. He's also saying that he wants President Trump to bring it. Meanwhile, his replies are turned off to people he follows on X. Does that mean that he can't take the heat when he's being criticized by Americans online? By the way, if you guys appreciate the daily updates, please take a second, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And the likes of Kinzinger and Liz Cheney cannot admit that their entire political identity is just them hating Trump. I don't think I've ever seen them talk about anything else of consequence to the American people. And what is it about Democrats and their use of terms like dude and bro? These are lawmakers who are addressing the president of the United States and realize that President Trump knows that he can't just do something about these signatures. He understands that there's a due process. He knows for a fact that this will all be decided in the courts.
To follow up on the Biden Autopen, are those executive orders, those pardons from the former president now null and void?
Well, I think so. It's not my decision. That'll be up to a court. But I would say that they're null and void because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that it was taking place. And somebody was using an Autopen to sign off and to give pardons to, as an example, just one example, but the J6 Unselect Committee. They gave, think of it, they gave pardons with an Autopen. I don't think Biden knew anything about it. And what they did is they deleted and destroyed all of the information that took them over a year to get. And the reason they did that is because the information was very incriminating about them. Like Nancy Pelosi, it was determined conclusively that she knew about 10,000 soldiers and turned it down. And if we used 500 soldiers, you would have had no problem, let alone 10,000. The young lady that said that I grabbed these powerful young Secret Service agents by the neck. Okay? You know that was a big hoax. It was a lie. And she admitted it. And they deleted everything. So, you know, what they did is criminal.
But even with him saying this, mainstream media had a field day with his post on Truth Social. And it's really getting to a point where I almost feel like as if President Trump is egging these people on to report everything he says online. And I'm not kidding, because CNN and MSNBC, they had all these experts lined up to talk about a post on social media. And I'm not going to show it to you guys because he says the same thing, but Adam Kinzinger got on CNN to talk about it again. So here's one of MSDNC's experts discussing it at length. Watch.
There are many points to be made here, and it would almost be a joke if it weren't so kind of horrifying. This is consistent with, to your point, the biggest story in our politics, the most foundational story, is this story that you're pointing to, which is the story of Donald Trump continuing to try to enlarge the scope of power that resides in the executive branch and in himself, essentially as something we never had in America before, as a king. And he is seems to be looking for ways to take those challenges to the highest level. It's like he's almost seems to be headed for clashes that he's kind of begging for with the judiciary that would allow him to press against longstanding constitutional and precedential limits so that he can essentially break through those limits and establish effectively a new form of executive-centric government in America.
Rent-free. So the president is living rent-free in the heads of these people. And I think President Trump is most likely just trolling at this point. What do y'all think? Because Democrats are taking all of these posts as seriously as they can, literally hanging on to every single word that the president uses.
Can he do this? Can he say the pardons are void?
No. No, legally,
and we're
this
done
is
here.
Dead on arrival. This is a ridiculous sideshow. Yeah, right, there you go. Look, the key question with the pardon power is what was the president's intent? We've had Autopen for decades. No presidential action has ever been invalidated or undone because it was signed by Autopen. And while the pardon power itself is extremely broad, There is no such thing as an unpardon power. This thing feels to me just like a rabbit hole. I wouldn't even pay it that much mind. There's no way this is going to actually happen.
Now,